Hey everybody, welcome once again to Nose in the Book, a Bible reading commentary with me, your host, Pastor Justin Van Reed. So great to be with you these next few minutes as we take a look at four more chapters from the Word of God today. Before us we have 2 Samuel chapter 15, 2 Corinthians chapter 8, Ezekiel chapter 22, and Psalm 69. If there's any questions or comments you have from these chapters, please feel free to post those in the comments section below, and I will do my best to check those out and answer them. And otherwise, let's take a look here what we've got before us. All right, 2 Samuel chapter 15. We're continuing here, focused on the children of David, and in particular, Absalom. So remember that Absalom, because he had killed his brother, who had raped his sister, he had this strained relationship with David for some years now. But David has brought him back home, but they still don't have the relationship that they used to. Absalom here begins his rebellion against David, his father, by being very sneaky and what's the word? Like kind of a conniving, shrewd. That's really the word I'm looking for. He goes to the gate of the city, and you've got people with all kinds of complaints. You can imagine, here's David, the king of all Israel, and so Absalom instead hears, what's your case? What's your complaint? As the people are at the gate, and hey, you got a good case there, man. And, if I were judge, I'd bring justice. I'd give you justice. And then he, kisses the people instead of them bowing to him. And so, as it says at the end of verse 6, Absalom stole the hearts of all the people of Israel. So, slowly but surely, he was building up a loyalty and allegiance to himself. And ultimately, he goes to Hebron, and he's got the troops with him, and he blows the ram's horn, and they announce here that Absalom is in a conspiracy against David. And so David is urged to flee, and so David says, we got to get out, and so his advisors are with him. They set out. Some stay back. He sends the priests back. Some turn on David at this moment. Previously were friends, were members of his cabinet. Some remain loyal to him. So you've got kind of several things going on here. You've got some that are going to say they're with Absalom, but they're really not with Absalom. They're with David. You're going to have some who are going to turn from David that previously were with him and truly be with Absalom. And then you have some who are going to remain with David as he flees. And so for the second time in his life, David's on the run here from an enemy. First so much of 1 Samuel had him running from Saul, and now you have him fleeing from Absalom. And it's no wonder that so many of the Psalms that we read about, the Psalms of David in the book of Psalms, are this anguish because his enemies, those who are against him, are flourishing or are chasing him, and he's relying upon the Lord and having to trust in the Lord's hand and provision. So this is 2 Samuel chapter 15, David chased from Jerusalem by Absalom in his rebellion. All right, we then go to 2 Corinthians chapter 8, and here Paul begins discussion. He's going to go for a couple chapters on giving. And he's urging here the Corinthian church to be generous. In this time period, in the context here, Paul had been on this journey of, this missionary journey. He was headed for Jerusalem to bring financial relief, financial help to, the suffering people in the suffering church there in Jerusalem. And so he had gone to these churches throughout, Macedonia, and Achaia, and Asia Minor, and was collecting money on this, as he would travel through these churches that he had founded on this current journey before going back to Jerusalem to deliver this. And so here he is talking to the Corinthians about this, and he says, I want to remind you here of the kindness that God has done here through the churches in Macedonia, because they've overflowing in rich generosity. He says they beg again and again for the privilege of sharing in the gift for the believers in Jerusalem. And he says they did even more than we had hoped. And so he says, so we've urged Titus, who encouraged your giving, Corinthians, your giving, in the first place, to return to you and encourage you to continue here in this ministry of giving, right? You excel in many ways, your faith, your gifted speakers, your knowledge, your enthusiasm, your love for us. I want you to excel in giving. He says, now I'm not commanding you to do this, but I am testing how genuine your love is, comparing it with the eagerness of the other churches who have been eager to give. And so, uses Jesus as an example here, right? Though he was rich, he became poor for our sake. So he says it would be good for you to start what you finished a year ago. Previously, they had been interested in this, taking up this offering. And so he wants them to now continue to give in proportion, he says, to what you have. Whatever is acceptable to you, give it, but give it eagerly. And he says, I don't mean your giving should make life easy for others and hard for you, but that there should be some equality here. Right now, you have plenty and can help those in need. Later, they will have plenty and can share with you when you need it. So this is the principle that Paul's laying down here. And he says that he's going to be traveling with others, including Titus, as he carries this gift. Right, there's some financial accountability here. And so he says, we are also sending with them another of our brothers who has proven himself many times and has shown on many occasions how eager he is. If anyone asks about Titus, say that he is my partner who works with me to help you. So Paul's commending Titus here to them. So again, whole chapter here on the call for the Corinthians to give, but laying down that principle here of being in abundance, having an abundance, and giving to those in need, especially amongst the brothers and sisters. All right, Ezekiel chapter 22 then, and more words of judgment here for the sins of Jerusalem. And it's really heavy language here. The way that God describes what Israel has done, it's clear it's because of their sin, because of Jerusalem's sin, that all of these things are coming upon them. But still, the details here of what they have done, it's pretty deep. It's pretty dark. From verse 6 down. But he says, that because of it now, judgment is coming. He says, you're going to find out that I'm the Lord. You don't take my commands, my covenant, and just throw it away, drag it through the mud. You don't claim to know me and walk with me, and yet do all these detestable things, and they really are detestable things that they had been doing. Then also the leaders. He has judgment on the leaders here. Give this message to people of Israel. In the day of my indignation, you will be like a polluted land, a land without rain. Your princes, your leaders, plot conspiracies. Just as lions stalk their prey, they devour innocent people. They seize treasure. They extort wealth. They make many widows in the land. Talks about the priests who have violated my instructions, have defiled my holy things, making no distinction between what is holy and what is not, disregarding the Sabbath. It says your leaders are like wolves who tear apart their victims. They actually destroy people's lives for money. Right? So these are the religious leaders in Israel, and this is just unacceptable. And so judgment is indeed coming. He says, now I will pour out my fury on them, consuming them with the fire of my anger. I will heap on their heads the full penalty for all their sins. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. All right, and then last we come here to Psalm 69. We have here David crying out for the Lord to save him. He's really in a tough spot here. He's describing like he's dying, just overwhelmed by what he's experienced here. But there's this back and forth through this psalm, as we've seen in many psalms, of David crying out to the Lord, I trust you, Lord, vindicate me because I trust in you. But at the same time, it's so difficult. And that's the reality of life. holding both of these together, right? The trust in the Lord and the reality of the pain of the experience of life. So he goes back and forth here, right? Answer my prayers, O Lord, for your unfailing love is wonderful. Take care of me, for your mercy is so plentiful. But then on the other hot side, you know my shame, scorn, disgrace. You see what all my enemies are doing. Their insults have broken my heart, and I am in despair. And so again, this back and forth here between it. All right, that's all we have time for today. Again, we had 2 Samuel chapter 15, 2 Corinthians chapter 8, Ezekiel 22, and Psalm 69. Thanks for being with me over these last few minutes as we took a look at reading for today. Hope you enjoy your time in the Lord's Word today and every day. Until next time, keep your eyes on the Lord and your nose in the book. We'll see you again soon.